All right, we're here with Tristan from Zeta Markets. I'm Brian Nibley. We're at Permissionless III right now in Salt Lake City. Tristan, why don't you go ahead and tell us a bit about yourself and Zeta Markets and what you're doing with Bullet, which is Solana's first ever Layer-2.
Yeah, sure thing. So I've been in crypto for a number of years now. I got started in 2017, but I guess primarily went full-time on Solana in roughly like 2021. We got started in one of the very early Solana hackathons, so I've been building since the very early days, which has been a fun experience the highs and the lows of what's been happening there. So we got started essentially building exchange infrastructure for Solana, so building all kinds of trading applications, mostly focusing on like the perps market now. It's like a big focus for us, and that's kind of dovetailed into now the infrastructure work that we're doing on Bullet, which is basically like our first shot at the L2 on Solana. The reason why we wanted to build it is we were building primarily like fully on-chain exchange, so all the order book and matching engine, margin system, everything's got to run on-chain. And so we want to be able to compete long-term with centralized exchanges, bring more people on-chain, have self-custody and transparency as kind of a first-class citizen. Doing that in a fully on-chain environment is like kind of difficult. But with L2s, we can take the execution off-chain, we can do really complicated margining, order matching, at like very low latency and like thousands of orders per second, and build something that's like a very viable exchange. And this roll-up infrastructure will kind of afford us to do that.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was wondering why you need an L2 on Solana since it's so cheap and fast and it's such high throughput to begin with. But I suppose if you're trying to recreate the centralized exchange experience, such high volumes, you still need a Layer-2.
Yeah, that's right. So even in decentralized systems, you have to do this consensus, you have to send all these messages around the world. When you talk about Solana, it's like 400 milliseconds, really fast for a blockchain, and it's worked really well for us so far. But when you're talking about Binance and some of these centralized exchanges, I mean, traditional exchanges, they're on like the microsecond level. Binance is probably on the millisecond level, so they do like 20 milliseconds to place an order. We're trying to get it down to about there, or potentially we think we can get it down to like 5 milliseconds. So it's going to be pretty cool that people don't have to make this trade-off between the two. It's like, let's start actually doing stuff on chain and not treating it as this kind of sandbox toy environment. We want all the volumes and liquidity to happen there.
Cool, yeah, okay. So how about the testnet and mainnet launches? Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, sounds good. So we're working pretty hard towards testnet launch right now for Bullet. So that will essentially just have Zeta as kind of the cornerstone app there. That's going to be our focus for at least the next 6 to 12 months, is just make it really work for trading, and then we can kind of open it up. Anyone else who wants to build ultra low latency applications, I think it'll be kind of cool to build an ecosystem, people who want to tap into that liquidity. But yeah, the testnet is, we're aiming for end of this month, if all goes well. A couple more weeks, we're just kind of polishing off some of the rough edges. It's probably still going to be a little bit rough, I guess, when it goes live, but we're opening up to a small group of power users and I guess people who've been around for a long time on our platform. We want to get really tight feedback loop, make sure that we can iterate, improve things, and then broaden out to a wider audience. In terms of mainnet, which is what people are most interested in, that is probably coming around mid Q1 is our current timeline. We want to be safe in terms of we build all the things, we want to test everything properly, and then we obviously need to get audited. There's quite a lot, both in terms of the chain logic and then the actual application logic that runs on top of it. So
you mentioned audited. Do you have third-party audits planned?
Yeah, that's right. So we've been talking to a bunch of different audit firms who have quite a lot of competency with Rust and kind of roll-up infrastructure. So we're lining those up for the next couple of months, and so should hopefully do a pretty comprehensive job there.
Nice. I imagine that helps with user trust quite a bit. I haven't heard of that kind of thing in this space before, so very cool. Now, moving on here, there were a couple other topics I know you were interested in that are not directly related to the tech, but sort of more general. So perps trading, for example, what do you know about perps trading? How is it relevant to Zeta, and what would you like people to know about?
Sure thing. So perps trading is like the bread and butter of what we do. That's like the core of our product. So perps are kind of a fantastic product in the crypto space. For those that aren't familiar, it's basically like perpetuals futures trading. So when you go and buy a Bitcoin and you go and trade that, we would call that spot trading essentially. That was what dominated crypto markets back in the day. But as people wanted to take bigger positions, to have more capital efficiency, so leverage essentially. You only need $100 worth of Bitcoin to take on a $1,000 position. So you can start kind of doing a lot more with the capital that you have, as well as the ability to natively long and short different assets. It's a bit harder when you only have like the kind of underlying cryptocurrency. So all these things we found really nice, and they've become the de facto trading product on a lot of major exchanges. So Binance, the most liquid instruments for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, it's always the perps that are the first mover in terms of price discovery. They always have the most liquidity, the most volume, and they kind of really came around in the BitMEX days a couple of years ago when someone invented this great product, which is a future, but it never has to expire. So you don't have this annoying UX with traditional futures. You have to always roll them, buy the next set of expiries. These ones just kind of like roll in perpetuity. You have this concept of a funding rate, which basically keeps it balanced and sort of pegged in a way, or tracking the kind of underlying price of Bitcoin or Solana or what it might be. There are nice kind of opportunities that people can do there to earn passive funding and stuff like that. But overall, it's just a great product, very easy to use, and like great for trading.
Okay, and zero knowledge proofs is another topic I know is relevant here.
Yep.
What do you want to tie that into?
Yeah, sure. So that kind of relates to how we're doing more computation off-chain, where we're trying to scale, I guess, because we're doing this execution off-chain, we're trying to make the exchange more performant. With an exchange, we want to have hundreds of markets essentially to be able to margin across all of them. This is something that's like pretty difficult and near impossible to do fully on-chain in a smart contract. But if we can take some of that heavy computation off-chain, you can essentially compute it all. You can create a proof with it, which basically says, I've done the correct computation. And so someone can come in there in a very lightweight way and be able to verify that proof and check that this guy is doing exactly what he said he's going to do. So this is a nice model for us to kind of balance what we do on-chain and off-chain and still do it in a way that anyone can kind of, it can be trustless and people can kind of verify this computation off-chain. So we're working with a bunch of great partners, Risk Zero and Succinct being like two of the ones that we've been working most closely with. And they build great tools where we can just build the smart contract as we already do, and they do a lot of the heavy lifting in there. They take our Rust code, they create the circuits and the proofs for that, and they kind of do that all under the hood, so we don't have to necessarily become massive domain experts in zero knowledge cryptography, which can be pretty hairy, but we get to reap the benefits there.
Okay, wrapping up here, is there anything else you'd like people to know about Zeta, Bullet?
Yeah, just we're shipping super hard and we've got these kind of deadlines coming up. So if you are, I guess, a non-US resident, you're looking to kind of test the platforms and come and trade and give feedback on some of the infrastructure, or if you're a builder who's looking to build low latency applications and kind of leverage L2s on Solana, we'd love to chat. So they can either find us at the conference or kind of join us on socials.
Any plans to expand to US markets? Will it ever be available? Any hope for US users?
I think it depends on the product. I think for some of the derivatives products, there's a very clear regulation, and that's something that we have to avoid, and we have very strict geofencing. But we'll see if regulations change and things become more permissive. But at the moment, that's unfortunately something that we can't offer.
All right, it's been great. Thanks, Tristan, so much.
Likewise, thank you.
Let's turn this off. Okay, cool stuff. A lot of different tech